tonight, seeing for themselves.
See the shoreline right over there.
Republicans descend on the southern border.
It's a national security crisis.
This as many of the thousands of migrant children are held in overcrowded facilities.
That is totally unacceptable.
And a new pledge.
I know it's ambitious, twice our original goal, but no other country in the world has even come close.
200 million vaccines in the president's first 100 days.
Plus,
Israel is experiencing its worst political crisis in decades.
Another election stalemate puts Israel's politics in disarray. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Breaking point at the southern border. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder.
And I'm John Jessup. Tonight, we're getting firsthand accounts of the crisis at the southern border, coming straight from lawmakers who traveled there to see the situation for themselves.
This is President Biden blames the situation on his predecessor. CBN White House correspondent Eric Phillips kicks us off tonight. Eric.
Jenna and John, 18 Republican senators made the trip to the southern border, led by Senators Ted Cruz and John Cornyn. Some of them are already posting videos to show the American people what they say the Biden administration is trying to hide.
This is what open borders really looks like, and this is why this is a problem.
In this cell phone video, Senator James Langford captures reality under a bridge that connects Mexico and the U.S., a busy border crossing.
This is the thing that Biden does not want you to see, is that literally people walk across the border, they check in here, and they are all released. 100% of the people that are here tonight will be released, and they'll just be released at a bus station from there, and they can go anywhere in the country.
That seems to contradict what the president said Thursday in his first news conference.
The overwhelming majority of people coming to the border and crossing are being sent back.
Biden insisting the emergency at the southern border can be attributed to former President Trump, saying he does not regret rolling back Trump's immigration policies.
I make no apologies for ending programs that did not exist before Trump became president, that have an incredibly negative impact on the law, international law, as well as on human dignity.
Former President Trump chiming in on Fox News Thursday.
What's going on is just absolutely insane. It's a horrible situation. And everyone that's seen it, nobody's seen worse. Nobody's seen anything like it.
And you can see there's 3 smugglers right there, standing on the Mexican side, looking at us.
Senator Ted Cruz also rolling during the trip to the border.
It's a public health crisis. The illegal immigrants who are being released, they're testing positive for COVID-19 at a 7 times higher rate than the American population.
Biden questioned repeatedly on transparency regarding when the media will get access to holding facilities.
This is being set up, and you'll have full access to everything once we get this thing moving.
Okay, just to be clear, how soon will that be, Mr. President?
I don't know, to be clear.
Report from U.S. Border Patrol agents, a mother and 2 young children were found unconscious after trying to cross the Rio Grande last week. Now, 2 of them were able to be revived by agents, but a 9-year-old died. Just another example of the sad situation that continues to happen there at the border. Jenna and John.
All right, thank you, Eric. Time now for our Friday Faith Nation political panel with Julia Manchester, political reporter for The Hill, and David Brody, CBN News chief political analyst. Border Patrol says it caught some 6,000 undocumented migrants Thursday, and as we just heard Eric say, we learned about that 9-year-old Mexican child who died while trying to get into the United States by way of the Rio Grande River. Julia, how does the administration not see this as a full-blown crisis?
Well, I think it's all about optics. And right now they don't want to admit that it's a crisis because they want to make it seem like they are working to get it under control. We saw that this week Biden appointed Vice President Kamala Harris to oversee that effort. And they said it would essentially be a 2-pronged approach. First, they would try to downsize the swell of migrants coming from those countries. And the second part of the approach would be working with those countries that these migrants are coming from. That's Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. So they want to make it seem like it's very much under control. And I think they're very much trying to differentiate themselves from the Trump administration. The problem with that is, though, It seems like the issues that were happening during the Trump administration have continued into the Biden administration. So the Biden administration is very much going to they're going to keep facing questions on this issue. And, as journalists, we're thankful that they finally at least allowed some reporters along the border. But before, there was a real issue with transparency there.
David, seeing these videos from these lawmakers and the images that they're sending back up this way, does this change things at all, at the very least public perception?
Well, I think it could over time. And I think Julia's onto something from a PR standpoint, which is that this is a PR battle. It's a policy battle for sure, but let's put the policy on the back burner, because the truth of the matter is nothing's getting done in Congress whatsoever. Oh, by the way, unless they change the legislative filibuster, then we can have that conversation. So it gets back to what you talked about, Jenna, which is the images. And that's why you see Senator Ted Cruz and John Cornyn. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they don't care about the border issue. They do. And they are representing their constituents by going down there. But the truth of the matter is that the more the Republicans can kind of trot out some of what they're doing on the border and show some of what's happening, the more problematic this is for the Biden administration. And look, earlier we had a Democrat actually releasing pictures inside those detention facilities. Look, if Democrats are releasing pictures, then the Biden administration fully knows they have a crisis on their hands, even if they don't call it a crisis in public.
David, it was like you're channeling the next question. President Biden signaled yesterday that he is open to getting rid of the Senate filibuster. How much does this turn up the heat on Senate moderates like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema? Do you see them budging now that the president's position is more in line with the progressive wing of the party?
Well, 3 months ago, I would have said no. 2 months ago, I would have said no. Now I say all bets are off. There is a concerted effort to try and get Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema along on that filibuster train, if you will. And let's remember, what the Democrats are going to do here is they're going to say to Sinema and Manchin, this is about voting rights. They're going to invoke John Lewis's name. They're going to talk about voter suppression by Republicans, and they're going to play that card in the debate over all of this.
Well, on a related note, Georgia's Republican governor has signed into law a pretty controversial bill that steps up voting restrictions in that state. On the federal level, Democrats in Washington are pushing hard on H.R. 1, which would essentially overhaul the entire nation's voting system. Julia, to you on this one, do you think Democrats will get rid of the filibuster in this specific case?
It's hard to say. I think it really depends on those moderate Democrats, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema. We've heard Joe Manchin say that he doesn't want to move towards eliminating the filibuster. He sees this as a tool of really bipartisanship, and it probably helps senators like him who are very much work as a go-between between both parties. But yesterday, President Biden very much signaled that he would be willing to go in that direction. So I think it depends on whether he can unify his own party on the issue, because we've seen that not only Manchin, but I would look at people like Kyrsten Sinema, maybe even John Tester, those moderate Democratic senators that may not want to get rid of that because they are already walking a very fine line.
All right, Julia Manchester, David Brody, thank you so much for our Friday Faith Nation political panel. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys.
You too.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Javier Becerra is now the new Secretary of Health and Human Services. Today, the former California Attorney General took the oath of office to become the first Latino to hold the $1.4 trillion agency. Becerra's confirmation in a 50-49 party line vote in the Senate was met with controversy and a lot of pushback from Republicans over his position on abortion. Critics point to Becerra's expansion of pro-abortion policies and a lawsuit filed against the Little Sisters of the Poor, a group of Catholic nuns, for failing to provide birth control to employees.
Well, moving the vaccine goalposts, the White House now pledging to vaccinate 200 million Americans in President Biden's first 100 days in office. At a White House COVID-19 response briefing today, CDC Director Rochelle Walensky implored Americans to hold on a little while longer.
Our advice is clear. We're vaccinating really, really quickly, and we're just asking people to hang on a little while longer in terms of the masks and the mitigation strategies so that we can get the majority of people vaccinated.
The White House said 11 million additional doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine are on the way. It comes after a slow start in availability of the company's vaccine when first authorized at the end of last month.
And here now for more, CBN News medical reporter Lori Johnson. Lori, good to have you with us. Big news for you personally. You actually just got the the Pfizer vaccine. What was your experience?
Well, Jenna, I got it 4 days ago, and I went to one of these gigantic vaccination sites. It was a convention center, actually. There were so many people there, lots and lots of people there. But it was actually a great experience. It was very organized. It moved very rapidly. And personally, I just felt very uplifted by the entire experience. I felt like I was being part of the solution. We've been hearing from health experts as well as political leaders and faith leaders that the best thing each one of us can do is to get the vaccine as soon as it's offered. And so I'm now also excited about not only the fact that I got it, but the fact that I'm going to be free on May 1st. I get my second dose in the middle of April. And it takes about 2 weeks after your last shot, or in the case of Johnson & Johnson, after your one and only shot, for your body to make all of the antibodies and T cells that it's going to. And so at that point, you can pretty much move about like olden days.
Oh, that's a nice thought.
Lori, any reaction to the vaccine?
None for me at all. They say that if people are going to have a reaction, a lot of times it happens after the second shot, and it's a very normal thing. It's just a sign that your immune system is working. My mother and both of my adult children have gotten both of their vaccines, and all of them felt a little achy, a little pain at the injection site for about a day afterward.
Well, congratulations. And I think the thing that I love most about that shot of you getting your shot is appreciating your guns. Lori, after dropping like a rock since, of course, well, after dropping like a rock since January, cases are ticking back up again. What's the reason why?
So yeah, cases are up 7% from last week, and last week was higher than the week before. And so really it's because so many people who haven't been fully vaccinated are already doing away with the mask and the social distancing because we can see the finish line. But really, John, only 15% of the population has been fully vaccinated at this point. Another contributing factor is that UK variant, which is a lot more contagious. The good news is deaths are not up because 70% of people over 65 have been fully vaccinated, and we know that people over 65 make up 80% of the deaths.
Yeah. Lori, what about people who've been vaccinated? Can they transmit the virus?
Well, this is a real big point of contention, and there was that argument between Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci in a congressional panel the other day. And of course, the main thing that everyone agrees on is that people need to get vaccinated. The question is, can you harbor some of the virus in your nose and in your throat and cough or sneeze it onto other people, particularly high-risk people? So should you wear a mask even after you've been vaccinated? A new study just started yesterday to test that very thing because the science isn't there one way or the other. The results of that specific study will be available in 5 months.
Lori, just about 30 seconds left, but for people who've had the virus, are they in that same boat?
Well, that's called natural immunity. And yes, people who have had the virus do have some immunity. We do know that the vaccines offer a more robust immune response. And also people who have had the virus and have recovered, we don't know how long that immunity lasts or how well it stands up to some of the variants. So people who have had the virus are advised to get a vaccine.
Good advice there. Lori Johnson, CBN medical reporter, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lori.
Thanks for having me.
And coming up, another election in Israel and another stalemate. What's next in this ongoing saga?
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel. Now available at cbnradio.com.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Well, welcome back. The final votes have been counted, and once again, Israel does not have a clear path to a stable government.
That's right, Jenna. But the parties trying to topple Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are still committed to ousting Israel's longest-serving prime minister. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell has more.
The results of Israel's fourth election within 2 years look like the last three, with no clear winner. The parties aligned with Prime Minister Netanyahu total 52 seats. The parties committed against Netanyahu total 57 seats. Two parties are uncommitted. The right-wing party Yamina holds 7 seats. Ra'am, or the United Arab List, an Islamist party, has 4 seats. With those 4 seats, Ra'am may hold the key to who gets the 61 seats needed to form a coalition. Its leader, Mansour Abbas, wants any government in power to provide more support to Israeli Arabs. Making the path toward forming a new government even more complicated, some parties refuse to sit in a coalition with other parties. Once again, it puts Israel's politics in disarray.
Israel is experiencing its worst political crisis in decades. It's apparent that our political system finds it very difficult to produce a decisive outcome. This is as a result of inherent weaknesses in our electoral system, but it's also because of the Netanyahu factor, a very popular prime minister that wants to remain in power, although he was indicted, and Israelis are split right down the middle on this question.
Now parties are scrambling for support and defectors from other parties. Israel will begin the celebration of the Passover on Saturday evening. Some say Israel will need another miracle to deliver it from its political plight.
Too often we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com to get your copy today.
Well, welcome back. A multi-million-dollar renovation project is underway in Southeast Virginia. It involves the only African-American Catholic basilica in the United States.
And just like the structure, this is no simple task. Here's Mark Martin.
This towering treasure has looked over the heart of downtown Norfolk for 162 years. A major reason the Basilica of St. Mary of the Immaculate Conception still stands is because of the compassion of donors.
Incredibly generous people. And you know, it was also very affirming, the importance of this church to the city of Norfolk. Everybody seemed to care about it. It has stood in this spot since 1858.
Another key historic note, this is the only African-American basilica in the country. Father Jim Curran calls himself, quote, a white pastor pastoring a black flock, something he tells CBN News is not an issue.
And they have accepted me and loved me and really formed me in so many ways in my faith. That's the real beauty. This is gorgeous too.
Father Jim says what started 6 years ago as a leaky roof repair exposed greater problems. The entire structure was compromised due to rotted out support beams. It led to a restoration effort that's grown into an almost $7 million renovation project.
The Lord saw it through and He gave us what we needed. And enough so much that we could even include the organ, which again was not part of our plan, but we had it, so we decided to restore that beautiful organ that hasn't been played in decades.
The majestic pipe organ is the original instrument, believed to have been built in 1858. Former organist Dr. Brandon Spence calls the organ an old friend and says it's a blessing to be able to play the pre-Civil War instrument.
Not everyone has access to an instrument like this, with its history and the beautiful sound that it makes, and just so many things. I don't know that there's enough time for me to adequately describe what it's like to just be here again and to have played it in the past and still be associated with it.
Spence sat down and played it late last year for the first time in more than 40 years.
I was a kid when I was playing this before, and it's like getting reacquainted. It was actually like coming home. When I was here, I spent most of my time here. I would come in early in the morning, late at night, after classes to practice here. So a tremendous amount of my life was spent not just in working on the instrument, but in being a musician, learning from all that this instrument had to teach me here. So it's like greeting a very dear friend, a cherished friend.
Spence showed my crew and me the capabilities of the organ and then introduced me personally to his cherished friend. It's remarkable that an instrument of this age is intact and playable. The case that the organ sits in is 36 feet high, and it has around 2,200 pipes.
And to see the tears of the faces of parishioners when they heard it. They haven't heard it in decades, and they come into this beautiful church and they can hear the beautiful sound, and it was just so complete. I cannot imagine what it's going to sound like when we have the full capability of that organ. It's just going to elevate all the way to heaven. It's just incredible.
The restoration of the organ is 30% complete. To finish it, Father Jim says it will require another capital campaign to raise $1 million, with the goal of completing it in 2 to 3 years. Pope John Paul II gave St. Mary's the special designation Minor Basilica in 1991, making it the only one in Virginia. Spence says it helped encourage Black Catholics and show them the church cherishes their involvement. And this massive pipe organ in their midst, full of history and sound, can also be inspiring.
No, it's all a part of prayer and praise and thanks to God, so don't come to just look at an instrument. It's much of the intimate connection with people who come and worship here and who have for a century and a half now. So it's not a museum piece, it's something living. I guess our liturgies are prayers of the church throughout history, and this organ, it certainly is very much a part of that.
Mark Martin, CBN News, Norfolk, Virginia.
Coming up, this country music star is singing for an audience of one and bringing back gospel hymns.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Wednesday at 3 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Well, finally tonight, Carrie Underwood is returning to her roots in a new album comprised of hymns from her childhood.
Yeah, the album is called My Savior and features renditions of classics like How Great Thou Art and Softly and Tenderly. Take a look.
Ye who are weary, come home.
And the singer and songwriter says the album is introducing some new songs, some of these old songs rather, to a new generation. Underwood says singing them takes her deeper in her relationship with God.
Beautiful voice, and I gotta admit, Jenna, I love some of those old songs.
I do too. It's nice to see her bringing them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
Maybe
to a
they'll
new
get some
generation.
traction. All right, have a great weekend, everybody.
We'll see you next time.